Well, welcome along. It's time for the Andrew Eborn Show, and to get us going in style, here's Neil Wild.
Swerves to the left, swerves to the right. You're sitting in the back, you better hold on tight. The wheel nuts are loose, and the windows won't close. I can't seem to figure out where the gasoline goes. Got no clutch, starts with a jerk. Speedos must and the brakes don't work. The whole damn thing is held together by rust. But with my foot on the throttle, you won't see me for dust. On that second-hand car, cost me $5. Fall into bits, which is just the job. Take her for a little spin down the motorway. If you see me coming, you better get out of my way. All right. Well, I gave her a name, I called her Christine. She's my baby, if you know what I mean. When it's cold in the morning, I gotta give her some choke. She takes off like a rocket, boy, you ought to see her smoke. Well, second-hand car cost me $5. Fall into bits, but she's just the job. Take her for a little spin down the motorway, yeah. If you see me coming, you better get out of my way. Get out of my way. Coast is clear. Jump right in and throw her in gear. She'll puff and she'll pant like a Dixie queen. She's my five-star baby. She's a real mean machine. Second-hand car cost me $5. Fall into bits, which is just a job. Take her for a little spin down the motorway, yeah. If you see me coming, you better get out of my way. Get out of my way. Second-hand car cost me $5. Fall into bits, but she's just the job. Take her for a little spin down the motorway. If you see me coming, you better get out of my way. Get out of my way, yeah. Woo!
Hey, brilliant stuff. I love it. What a great start to the show. So how are you doing then, Neil?
I'm pretty good, Andrew. And yourself?
I'm not too bad. So you're up there in Selby, or just outside of Selby?
That's right. Somebody's got to come from here.
Oh, I love it up there. I went to university up in Durham, so a little bit along, and studied law over there, all the things. But what I love about these times is how creative people have been. How's lockdown been for you?
It's been a challenge. After 45 years, I've been out there playing live to live audiences, Andrew. It's been a big challenge to be here at home doing gardening and doing things that normal people do. Normal people. Of course, I'm a normal person as well, but I'm not usually here to do things like that. So it's been a challenge.
But you've been doing some, a lot of people we've had on the show, we've had Susie Quattro on the show, right? Said Fred Toyer, all these sort of wonderful people. They're reinventing themselves with this new way of communicating with people. And you've been doing some online shows yourself, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've been doing things on, not on Zoom, should I say, but I've been doing things on other platforms. I've been using Restream, these are all things that as a seasoned gentleman that I'm not really into. And so it's taken a lot of energy, should I say, to get things going. As you can see, my background's a little bit all over the place, and I only have a small studio, so it's kind of getting things organized and learning these new techniques.
Yeah. Oh no, but I love your background. It looks an interesting part of Yorkshire. I'm not sure where it
Well, you know, I lived in the Northern Hemisphere for for quite a few years. You know, I lived in Norway for quite a lot of years. So that's always will be a part of my heart. You know,
Oh no,
the
pining for those fjords, as they would say in
oh,
Monty Python.
absolutely. I don't have to pine so much. But I have three stepdaughters still living in Norway, and they call me regularly and call me on the messenger, and I can see what's. Oh, look, Dad, look at the weather. You know, so it's. I get to see everything that's going on.
Oh, brilliant. Well, you started, I always say, look, so show me a child until the age of 7 and I'll show you the man, as good old Aristotle used to say. I mean, you started when you were about 12 and you were playing guitar with your grandmother at church. Tell me about those days.
Well, in actual fact, Andrew, I was what's known as a rock and roll fetus. Because my mother and father were big into the dancing back in the 50s, in the day, and they loved rock and roll dancing, and in fact they won a dance competition when my mum was 8 months pregnant with me. Of course, after I was born, I think I was quite a noisy baby, so they didn't give me a dummy; they gave me an harmonica. I don't have one at hand, actually. Oh,
here we go. We got a harmonica. There we go. This is what we like.
So they gave me an harmonica. So I've actually been playing this since I was like probably 6 months old, and it carried on with me the whole of my life. I got to being about 6 years old, going to my grandfather's, taking piano lessons, taking violin lessons. And then when I was about 11, I was playing guitar. And then I found the piano, as you said, around about 11, 12 years old. And that has been the main instrument for me. It's kind of a strange thing because it's a love, a passion, something that I just have to do. It's unexplainable, and you can ask the same question. It has been asked this question. I know that Jules Holland did some program where he asked people what the piano actually meant to them, and he asked Billy Joel and Elton John and all the great piano players, and they all had a different thing, but they couldn't actually put their finger on exactly the thing. It's just a feeling, you know.
But it's great. I love the thought of your mother at 8 months pregnant winning dancing competitions. And competitions are obviously in your blood because you started entering those yourself at about the age of 13. How did those come about?
Yeah, well, just holiday camps when we were on holiday as children. You know, I never actually entered a piano playing competition. I was actually playing the guitar at that time and going to church as I did when I was younger with my grandparents, and my grandmother had a beautiful voice, and we used to sing in the church and do gospel songs, and we had one new teacher that came along to the group, and he got together a bunch of us kids, and we got this like a gospel group together, and I was playing guitar and singing, and I was changing the lyrics of old songs like Diana and things like that, and changing the lyrics to gospel lyrics. And he got gigs for us going out playing in old people's homes and even a local hospital. And I think there was a Borstal link. Can you call them that these days? I don't know. A young offenders facility.
Yeah, that's what they were called in those days, weren't they? And at the age of 16, you had your first professional band, 20 Flight Rock. How did that name come about?
Well, my mum and dad were out dancing, and they met this band, and they were looking for a member of the band, and they told them about me being a piano player, and they sent one of their members down to rehearse with me every few days, and rehearsed with him for a few weeks, and then went and played with them. But that was in the times when before there was real electric pianos that were any good. We used to carry a real piano, and if they didn't have one there, then I just used to dance on the stage, I was only 16 years old, you know, it was crazy times. But
Amazing. But you then set up your own band about Let the Good Times Roll at the tender age of 17. What sort of music were you playing then?
it's the same kind of music. Always played rock and roll and boogie woogie. Um, but again, that was the start of something, having to look after the guys and make sure that I had work for the guys in the band. So it was yeah, it was. I had my brother working with me as well at the same time. He was a sound technician, and as time went along, he dropped the sound engineer job and became my drummer because I always struggled to keep musicians. You know, it was a tough times. Tough
Well, it is
times.
difficult, isn't it? But you also had some great times as well. So from the late 70s all the way into the 80s, you were playing with wonderful artists such as Mungo, Jerry, Shaking Stevens, all these sort of
Oh,
things. Tell me about those
oh,
days.
oh yeah, those were great days. We were all on the road, and they were all doing the pretty much the same thing as what was happening in America back in the early 50s, whereas Jerry Lee and Elvis and Fats Domino, all those guys were going around on a circuit. And it was the same as rock and roll guys in England, only we were doing it in the rock and roll revival years of the 1970s, which were great years for rock and roll. That's the only sad thing that's happening today. Back in the 70s, every few years, there would be a hit song came out, and it was a song that had happened before, like a Shawadi Wadi song or a Shaking Stevens song. It would come, rock and roll would come to the front again and take another bow. But today, it doesn't seem to happen anymore. It's I mean, some of the music I like today, and I do cover some of that music, today's music, but it's not my preferred genres
No, no,
of
I understand.
music.
So what sort of music do you like today?
I like a bit of Ed Sheeran. I like McFly. I like a bit of McFly. I kind of like the. I mean, a lot of these acts weren't in my vocabulary. Sort of, I only moved back to the United Kingdom in 2004, so I didn't know anything about Oasis or the Gallagher brothers or anything like that. But at Christmas time, one of the Gallaghers had a song out at Christmas, and I quite liked that, and I covered it on a Facebook concert, and yeah, it was very well received, you know.
Well,
So
as you say, you spent a lot of your time actually from the 80s onwards in Scandinavia. You worked on the cruise ships and things like that. How did that first of all come about that you decided Scandinavia is going to be the place for you?
what happened was that in 1985, well, actually, 1984, we took a break from the band, a holiday that we was going to take to give everybody a rest because we were working. We were doing 8 shows a week, traveling. We had a caravan on the back of a van. We had a, we had a surfboard, a windsurfer on the roof of the van, and a towing a caravan. And we were just worked out. And we decided to take a month free. My month, I was offered a month playing in Belgium at a piano bar in a little place called Tournai in Belgium. And I went off and played for a month, doing 6 hours a night in a piano bar, where I learned a lot of new material and different genres, because up until that point, to 1984, I played exclusively rock and roll songs. And so that's where my genre changing started. And then in 86, we decided to finish with the band, and I was offered a lot of work, solo work in piano bars, where I would have been making more of a constant living. And I went down to a place called Puerto Banús in Spain, in Marbella, where at the time there were numerous millionaires that I met down there, and people of lots of snooker players, lots of football managers. Khashoggi's yacht was down there. I met Shirley Bassey and Tom Jones and
Oh, that's not unusual. But they're great.
That's not unusual.
Hey,
that's a good point.
You see what I did there? It's all good. But what I love about the profession, a lot of the names that you mentioned, Mungo Jerry, you know, I had Tom Jones, Shirley Bassey, they're actually really giving of their time. What sort of advice did they give you?
Not really much advice at all, to be honest with you. I think I learned more from just standing back and watching what they were doing, and seeing the professionalism that they had, and it taught me a great deal, I think. But over the years, you tend to adopt a certain professional standard that you like to live by, and then other people tend to come to me now and say, wow, you know, you're a total professional. You like it to be right. Yeah. It was like with the Facebook thing. I couldn't get the sound exactly how I wanted it. And I'm sure that today it won't be exactly how I would like it, because I know that there are better ways to do this with Zoom, but I don't know them. And it would have to be a practice. Be practice to get.
But that's the great thing, Neil. We'll have you back and stuff like that. But I think nowadays people are quite forgiving. If you look at the different news reports, they have people sort of apologising. There's a bit of a lag with the connection and so on and so forth. So I think people are quite forgiving.
But, I agree with you, but I'm not so forgiving with myself. That's
yes.
That's the problem.
Always your own worst critic, isn't it? It sounds interesting.
Absolutely.
But in Norway, then you started setting up, if you like, working around these rock and roll piano bars, because that was a new concept there at the time, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, they had lobby piano bars in lobbies in hotels, and when I first went there in '86, well, actually '87, because I did a whole year down there in Spain. And that's where the apron strings came undone, because I was very much a mummy's boy, and still am, even though she's not here, God bless her. But yes, being away from home was very, very difficult for a whole year. Even though when I was on the road in England, Scotland and Wales, at least I was away for a week and then came home for a few days, or I was always knocking on my mum's door for something to eat, you know. And but when you're away in a different country, it's different. It's a different thing. You know, in the beginning, you have to lose those ties, which I found very difficult in the beginning. But I got a lot of contacts down there in Spain, which is what led me to Norway and Scandinavia, because a lot of the people going there to Spain were people that either had bars in Scandinavia or knew friends that had bars. So it was a word of mouth thing that took me to all those places. And as I got there, it was word of mouth that took me from one place to another. While the piano players were sat playing correctly in the lobbies, I was saying, oh, I want to move that piano. I want to move it that way so people can see my fingers. I want this to be there, and I want to stand up, and I was stood on top of the piano and doing all the things that Jerry Lee Lewis was doing 40 years before. And
it is wonderful, those sort of performance things like that. So who are your real piano heroes, if you like? I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis, obviously. Who else do you like?
Well, Jerry Lee Lewis was the first one, but as years have gone by, I've met a lot of great piano players playing on whilst I've been playing on festivals and things like that in different countries, and also I've delved further back than the rock and roll itself, and gone back to rhythm and blues before rock and roll started, and found a lot of the old boogie woogie piano players, such as Meads Lux Lewis, Albert Hammonds, Pete Johnson. They always are the three that everyone mentioned. But then there was another guy called Amos Milburn, who was singing and playing. Ammons Johnson and Measley Lewis, they were only playing Boogie Woogie, whereas Amos Milburn was playing Boogie Woogie and singing songs and writing songs. So he is one of the ones for me that I aspire to. Albert Ammons, of course, is my favorite Boogie Woogie piano player, but Amos Milburn is my favorite, is one of my favorite artists for that.
Fantastic stuff. And it's this wonderful influence. I had the real joy of Jerry Lee Lewis came over here for I think it was his 80th birthday celebration. He was at the London Palladium, and I had the joy of interviewing his sister Linda, who's also a brilliant musician as well. So it sort of runs in the family.
Yes, I know Linda very well. I've met her on the road. We are quite good friends. She's quite a gal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And whilst you were in Norway, then you were playing with some of the biggest stars in Norway itself. Tell me about some of those.
Lovely people, but at the end of the day, I'm a foreigner. Even though I lived in Norway for 14 years, I was still a foreigner, and I couldn't seem to get right to the top of the tree. You know, they all wanted me to be there because of my professionalism. And when I did like a trip, one thing that I remember very, very correctly was a trip that I did on Stena Line, and it was with all the Norwegian Eurovision Song Contest winners over the years. And it was the year, I think it was around 2000, when it was held in Denmark. Right. And we all went on the ship down to Denmark with a whole bunch of these musicians and people that were ex-Eurovision people, and me as an entertainer, to entertain a ship full of people. And they wanted to be there because they knew that I would hold it together while they all got drunk. You know? So I got so far, and I managed to get so far with it in their system, but I kind of felt that I got a bit pushed out, you know. And in the end, it was it was like it was hard work. It was getting to be hard work. Although I did have a record deal, and I did have I did have regular work. You know,
you had a deal, didn't you, with Yamaha in Scandinavia, both a record and a sponsorship deal as well. What did that deal entail?
Well, it sort of entailed me going and playing at some of their exhibitions, and basically they gave me a free piano, which I still have, and any help that I needed, just basically that was it, really. I think Jules Holland has a better deal than what I had, that's for sure.
Yeah, all interesting stuff. Well, eventually, ill health brought you back to Yorkshire. What happened?
Well, my brother fell ill, and he was quite sick, and I still to these days don't know what it was. I think it was a superbug that he caught in the hospital, and he went in for an angioplasty because he was having problems with his legs. And when he came out, I picked him up 2 days after. All the skin was coming off his hands and everything, and the next thing I knew, it was coming off his feet, and he was coming with me and doing that, because by then I came back from living in Scandinavia, and his feet were terrible. He was wearing plastic bags to keep this cream lubricating his feet. It was like pieces of steak, you know. It was terrible, and 3 months later, I found him dead in his apartment. So not very nice.
I know, it all puts things in perspective, doesn't it? It makes you sort of evaluate.
Without a doubt. I mean, up to that point, I could talk to you for hours about my life, but I was wearing a toupee for 14 years. Well, not 14, probably 12 years. And a lot of this business, as you know yourself, is image. okay, right, said Fred, don't have a problem about this. Because he's had it the whole time, for a long time. But for me, it was a strange. I was in a situation where I was being interviewed like you, like I am with you. Only this guy said to me, it was a radio interview actually, and this man said to me, "Yeah, you're probably about my age, aren't you?" And I looked at him, and this is quite a lot of years ago, and I said, "No, I don't think so. What makes you think that?" And he said, "Your knowledge of the music." And I was doing a desert island disc thing. That's what I was doing.
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like that. This is me." And he pulled his driving license out and showed me a picture of him with no hair. And I looked at him, and he had hair. And he said, if you give me a call, I'll take you to this place. And I went to bed that night, and I had sweats, and it was a terrible night's sleep. And I must have been thinking about it in my head and thinking about it. And I said no straight away. I said, "No, not interested." But then the following day, I woke up and I called this guy. I said, "Take me. I'm interested. Let's have a look at it." And he took me to this place, and we saw this blah 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 blah. I ended up getting this system anyway. That's probably the same thing that Elton John has. But when I came back to England, I still had this. When my brother passed away, it made me realize, why am I doing this? Exactly what you said. You just confirming something that it doesn't really matter.
I think that's right. And be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm back to I've been back to myself since then, really. I mean, I've always been myself, because at the end of the day, it's your personality that gets you through. But a little bit of help to a little bit of help to keep you looking younger doesn't go amiss. Although I mean, I feel young enough inside anyway. But I think this keeps me young.
Oh no, absolutely. And you started writing as well. You started doing, apart from tipping your hat to the classics and the greats of rock and roll and boogie woogie and that sort of stuff, you started writing yourself with Tony Burton. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, Tony Burton was originally a DJ from Brighton who was traveling around the world and found Norway just like I did. And he was drawn to the place, making money, because obviously the money is better in Norway. There's more of it, because they're used to it. Costs £5 for a loaf of bread in Norway. So they're not worried about spending money there. So, but lovely people, so genuine people. I do miss being there. To be fair,
but you've got your stepchildren still there, haven't you?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm normally back quite regularly, and I am getting messages from friends. Saying video messages saying, "When are you coming back here? We're missing you."
That will happen. We're about to be unleashed onto the world. I think things are looking a bit brighter and stuff like that. But the songs that you wrote with Tony, I mean, talk to me about the collaboration. I'm always interested in getting creative people on about how they collaborate, how they go about starting writing together. Tell me about your experience with Tony.
Well, Tony was, as I said, from Brighton, so he was a southerner, pretty much like yourself. I'm a northern boy, and a lot of my sayings and dialects do come through from time to time, and it amused him, some of the things that I would talk about. And we met every Wednesday night. He came to my home every Wednesday night, Tony. We had a meeting up. I had some songs, and I wasn't too happy with the lyrics that I'd written. And I wondered if he, as a lyricist, he's a good lyricist, and he especially for kind of funny lyrics, very, very good with lyrics. Anyway, I got in contact with him, and we met up, and he said yes, he didn't live too far away from me, so he came over every Wednesday night. I made food for us, and we got a sort of chatted about our lives and things like that, and a few of the sayings that I came out with were actually some of the and my life, women problems and things that had happened to me in my life was what he took away from that. And we wrote some of these songs together. I wrote all the music to everything, which don't take a lot of doing because it's rock and roll. Nothing's new. Nothing's new in rock and roll. But the lyrics are. And I think about the second-hand car that I played earlier. That came out of a conversation we had about my first car, which was a Ford Anglia, and it was dropping to bits with rust. And of course, the five Bob, as both being Englishmen living in Norway, it just, that's just how it happened. It was.
Brilliant. And it is all sort of interesting, isn't it? So looking back then, Neil, what advice would you give the 12-year-old Neil Wiles now that you've been everywhere, done everything, met everybody? What advice would you give yourself? What did you wish you known when you were 12?
Oh, my goodness. I wish I knew how to play the piano better. Yeah, I'm still learning things today. Do you know that? We never stop learning. That's the thing, is that we never stop learning. I sit at the piano and think, I pretty much know the keyboard by now. I've played it for so long. And yet there are still things that I come across and I think, oh, wow, is that how to do that? I've been looking for that Boogie Woogie riff for all the time I've been playing. And all of a sudden, bam, it's there. Because it's not only the notes and where they are, it's a feeling. It's a special groove, a special feeling. And I think I have a lot of piano playing friends that are, I'm not a music reader. I have a lot of friends that are very good music readers. Some of them professors at universities in Poland and different places that I go to. And they have so much admiration for me. And I feel, I don't. It's a strange feeling because I'm not a real musician because I don't read music, but they have a certain respect for me as a professional and for being able to play.
But is that the definition of a real musician? You have to be able to read music. I mean, if you can play, you can compose, doesn't that make you a musician?
I mean, I don't even know what the chords are that I'm playing. I mean, although I write music and I write songs, I sit here and play things, and some of the time I don't even know what I'm playing. I don't know the chords that I'm playing. So, but it doesn't really
write it down for you when you're composing. Then, if you don't read or write music,
well, I can
just remember it.
I just play it into the computer, and the computer writes it.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So that was so you're continuing to learn. That's what you sort of say to yourself as a 12-year-old. What's been your biggest regret?
Biggest regret. I think the biggest regret I've had was when I was married in Norway. I had a fabulous band, and that band.
The Blue Masters, is that the one?
That's the one, yeah. The Blue Masters, yeah. I'm friends with everybody in the band now, but we had a falling out back in around about 96. I had a heart attack in 96, 98. 98, I had a heart attack, and a lot of things happened to my body, and we did have a falling out, and it was due to a lady, and I wish that had never have happened. I think that was that was something that I wish never would have happened.
Well, what I always find on this show, Neil, I like to build bridges, and your friends at the Blue Masters will no doubt be watching this. What would you like to say to them?
Well, I've already said it to them, Andrew. They already know, but I do, and I have apologized to them for what happened in those stressed times, and yeah, and they know that's it's water under the bridge now. I think that at some point we probably will do a few gigs together. But I don't know when that will. I don't know when that will be. When we've got the time and we're able to do that, because although things are getting better with the COVID here in England, they're not getting better everywhere in the world. And of course, to be able, I don't feel 100% safe at the moment to get on an aeroplane and fly to Norway. I wouldn't mind getting on the ferry and driving. But then I've got to go through all these countries. Do I have to? Am I going to be stuck there for 2 weeks? Stuck there for 2 weeks? And by the time I get there, the shows have gone.
Right, but it could be. So we could, in later on this year, or maybe even next year, have a reunion of the Blue Masters. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, I don't think not this year. No, I don't think this year. No. I think it will be a few years before we get round to doing that.
A few years. Well, that's okay. So that was one of the regrets, but you've started to build bridges there anyway.
Yeah.
What has been your happiest memory?
Happiest memory. My happiest memory was, I think, sat on the crossbar of my dad's bike while he rode to the swimming baths. He used to wrap a towel around the crossbar on the bike and sit me on there and pedal all the way 5 miles on the bicycle to the swimming baths on a Sunday morning. And it was downhill on the way there, but on the way back, it was uphill. And sadly, he passed away in 2019. But I think that's my happiest memory, really.
It is fascinating. And finally for today, we will get you back on the show. It's been an absolute delight having you here. How would you, Neil Wild, like to be remembered?
For just being a normal guy, or trying to be a normal guy anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I've helped to prolong adolescence to so many people by playing rock and roll and helping to keep rock and roll and boogie woogie music alive. I think that's what I'd like to leave, if there is any legacy whatsoever, is to think that I've put energy into rock and roll and the music that was there when I was a child, and kept doing that. I mean, a lot of friends say to me, why do you keep playing rock and roll? Why do you play this boogie woogie? I had a friend here only a few weeks ago, and he said to me, why do you listen to Bruno Mars and this funky thing? And I listen to it, and I think, yeah, it's all right, but I don't feel it. I feel the boogie.
Well, you certainly feel the boogie. Well, you're going to play us out now, Neil, with a bit of rock and roll heaven. It's over to you, Neil Wild. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you very much, Andrew. You're a gentleman. Thank you. She's looking good. She's looking fine. She's a sweet young thing. Gonna get her all the time. She can dance. She can swing. Oh, Lord God Almighty, she can do anything. She's mine. Mine. She knows what it takes to make a boy feel fine. On a scale of 10, she's gotta be 11. Takes me all the way to rock and roll heaven. Yeah, she's a dream, she's a star. She's got a Mercedes-Benz she borrowed from her pa, and she can flirt and she can tease. Oh, Lord God Almighty, she can do as she please. She's mine, all mine. She knows what it takes to make a boy feel fine. On a scale of 10, she's gotta be 11. Takes me all the way to rock and roll heaven. Well, I gotta keep on rocking if you wanna hold her tight. She's a real fast mover, catcher in flights. I have to admit, I'm a man on a mission. I ain't letting go until I find what I've been missing. Woo! chicken if you want to hold her tight. She's a real fast mover, catch her in flight. I have to admit, I'm a man on a mission. Ain't letting go until I find what I've been missing. Oh, she's looking good, she's looking fine. She's a sweet young thing, she's getting sweeter all the time. And she can dance, and she can swing. Oh, no, Lord God Almighty, she can do anything. She's mine, all mine. She knows what it takes to make the boy feel fine. On a scale of 10, she's gotta be 11. Takes me all the way to rock and roll heaven. On a scale of 10, she's gotta be 11. Takes me all the way to rock and roll heaven. On a scale of 10, she's gotta be 11. Takes me all the way to rock and roll heaven.
Brilliant stuff. Neil, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. So thank you again to my brilliant guest. Doesn't that make you feel good? The wonderful Neil Wild. If you would like to be a guest on the show or have any thoughts on any of my wonderful guests, you can write to me at guests@Octopus TV. That's guests@Octopus TV. Don't forget, you can follow me at Andrew Eborn at Octopus TV, and you can subscribe to the Andrew Eborn Show at Octopus TV on all of the usual platforms, and a few unusual ones as well. More platforms than Paddington. But for me, for now, thank you so much again to Neil, and thanks for joining me. See you next time. Bye-bye.